All right, you know what to do. Please welcome Matthew Modine. Yeah.
What are you guys all doing here? Don't you have anything better to do? Nice to meet you. Wow, look at you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for coming to the Steel City Comic-Con. I've got some nuts in my mouth. I'll stop chewing in 1 second.
Well, welcome. It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
We can get directly to questions. If you'd like to say a few things before we get started, it's your time, whatever you're comfortable with.
It's my time.
It is your time.
Why don't we just ask questions? Yeah,
that's
the best way to kick it off. How you doing, young man?
Good.
I'm doing very well, thank you.
While you're headed over, I have a quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
You've worked with Kubrick and a lot of great directors, Robert Altman. What are the styles, especially between Altman and Kubrick, that you?
Well, to many people's surprise, that especially with Stanley Kubrick, they think that everything was pre-planned, and that there were no alterations that were made. That he was such a taskmaster, and nothing could be further than the truth. He said he never knew where to put the camera until the actors came in and began working. You know, that the actors would tell him where to put the camera. And so that's a big surprise for a lot of filmmakers, because they think that the director's job is to tell everybody what to do. So the one thing that all of these wonderful directors that I've had the privilege of working with, whether it was Jonathan Demme, who directed Married to the Mob with Michelle Pfeiffer, and Dean Stockwell, bless his soul, he just passed away about a week and a half ago, is that the director really listens to the actors, and you know, of course you have an idea what it is that you're going to create, how you want to film it, but you do adapt and change with the actors that you're working with. It's a process of discovery. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, we've got a question for you right here.
Hello, Matthew. Merry Christmas, and it's wonderful to have you with us today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. So this is a two-part question. So one, what was your favorite and most intense scene to film in both Full Metal Jacket, Shortcuts, and Vision Quest? And the second is, what can you describe your fondest memories of working with both Stanley Kubrick, Robert Altman, and R. Lee Ermey?
Well, those are two really complicated. We could have the rest of the afternoon talking about those three things. First of all, people often ask, what was it like working with R. Lee Ermey? It was terrific. He was so disciplined. You know, he was a United States Marine, and he worked with Leon Vitali, who was Stanley Kubrick's assistant. If you've never seen the documentary called Film Worker about Leon Vitali, he was Stanley Kubrick's right-hand man. It's a terrific documentary. But Lee Ermey, he smoked at the time. He drank gallons of coffee. He had bad teeth, and he was nervous. So when he got in your face and yelled at you, you got sprayed with bad teeth, coffee, cigarettes, and nervous tension. So people say, how could you keep a straight face? You were just trying to keep your face from melting off of your face because his breath was so bad. But I love Lee Ermey, and it was a real pleasure to work with somebody, and I learned a lot from him. That was really, I mean, he'd acted before in films, but this was really the first time he had a great starring role. And he would have won the Academy Award if Officer and a Gentleman hadn't come out like a year or two before, and the terrific actor
Lou Gossett.
Thank you, Lou Gossett Jr. Thank you. That's very kind of you to help me. Lou Gossett Jr. Won the Academy Award for playing a drill instructor with a movie with Richard Gere. Now, what was the other part of your question? Full Metal Jacket. Shortcuts. Oh, jeez. Jesus. Shortcuts. I mean, just that whole scene with Julianne Moore. This is a film directed by Robert Altman and Julianne Moore in her first film role. I mean, first major film role for sure. And for those of you that have not seen the film, Julianne Moore, she spills wine on her dress, and I'm asking her about something that happened in our marriage where she went out to pick up some wine and she went with this guy, and I'm sure, my character is sure, that she cheated on him, that she had sex with this man. And I apologize to any children in the room. That's what adults do. They have sex. It's awful. It's a terrible thing. So anyway, in this scene with Julianne Moore, she spills wine on her dress because I'm asking her questions about this affair that she had. And she takes her dress off to dry it off because our guests are coming over for dinner. And she plays the whole scene naked from the waist down. And it's weird to do a scene with someone who's naked, so that I think that's enough about that. The most intense scene in Full Metal Jacket is at the end with the scene with the sniper. She was a 11 and 12-year-old Vietnamese girl who was a refugee from Vietnam, was living in England. Was funny because she'd grown up in England and she'd grown up in a working class neighborhood, and she taught ish, I mean, like, hello, Matthew. She taught, I probably sound like Dick Van Dyke in, what's that movie?
Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins. Yeah. But yeah, she was Cockney. She had a Cockney accent. But she was nervous about having all the bullet hits. So they don't do this anymore, just as there should never, ever be gunfire or blanks on sets anymore, Yeah, there's no reason for it in this age of digital filmmaking. And that's a tragic, horrible, horrible thing. But I lost my hearing on Full Metal Jacket because and it was my idea. I said to Stanley so those of you who haven't seen Full Metal Jacket, I'm going into this building to kill a sniper who's killed Cowboy and 8-Ball and Doc J. All these people are getting killed. And we don't know that it's a young Vietnamese girl that's killing us. But anyway, I'm going into this building and I peek around a corner of a pillar and I see the sniper and I get ready to shoot her and I pull the trigger and my M16 jams. So I told Stanley that are there any Vietnam veterans here? Did anybody who ever fired an M16? They jam a lot, right? Yeah. Oh, you were in the squad car with me and Batman. Oh, I had such a good time in Pittsburgh. Thank you. Yeah. So that M16, I told Stanley, I said that this would be a great moment in the film for my M16 to jam as I'm getting ready to shoot the girl. And then I'll reach for the 45. I had a 45 on my hip. And he says, that's a great idea. He says, it'll build tension. And I can fill this column with bullet hits. It was a column about like this column right here. So what they do is they cut holes and they run wires and they put explosives in the wall. And then they cover it up with the material that's like concrete so that it looks like when the bullets go off that, it's real gunfire. And so, but it was a film set, so it was made out of wood and it was hollow. And so when I peeked around the corner to shoot, my gun jams, I lean in to get my 45, but when I did that, I leaned in, and you can see it happens in real time in the movie. I leaned too close to the column, and the explosives in the wall, it was like somebody punched me in the side of the head, and I lost my hearing in my left ear. Yeah. So that's Full Metal Jacket. That was the worst thing on Full Metal Jacket. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, nobody got hurt or I mean, other than, and the special effects guys that said, "Oh, don't worry about it. It'll stop ringing," and it still rings. It's still like. Anybody whoever's had tinnitus, they know how horrible it is. So, Vision Quest. Vision Quest. The whole movie was hard. The whole entire movie was hard. The worst thing that happened was, somebody got this crazy idea that my legs would look more muscular. I've got skinny legs. And they said his legs will look more muscular if you take the hair off of them. So they sent me to a salon to get waxed. Yeah. And this poor young girl who, I think she was 17, 18 years old, putting the wax. And I think you're supposed to shave, like, not have long hair when you wax, right? You're not supposed to do that. Yeah. So she waxed me with long hair on my legs, and my legs started bleeding. There was blood coming out where she was pulling, and she was crying. She was crying, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." Ripping the hair out. And the scene where Carla and Loudon Swain make love, they had me in a pair of tight jeans, and my legs were so sore from getting, and so the whole time we're doing the love scene in Vision Quest, I'm just in excruciating pain. These are crazy stories that are all leading to sex. Stop it. Yes. Is there another part to that question, or I'm done?
Actually, I want to add.
Yes.
I want to add Birdie to that list.
Oh, Birdie.
Yeah. As far as like uncomfortability, challenging.
Yeah. Has anybody in the room seen Birdie? Yeah, you one too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite movies. This is a beautiful film based on a book by William Wharton. It's before we use the term post-traumatic stress. The book took place in the Second World War, and so it would have at that time just been shell shock. That's what they called it. That, and Birdie is suffering from post-traumatic stress, and he's in his mind he's become a bird. But when I auditioned for the movie, I auditioned for Birdie's best friend, Al Columbato, that Nicolas Cage played. And I was doing a movie up in Toronto with Mel Gibson where we played brothers called Mrs. Soulful, and Diane Keaton was Mrs. Soulful. And Alan Parker called me up and said, "Hey, congratulations, you're going to be Birdie in the movie." And I said, "What? No, I auditioned for Al Columbato. I didn't audition for Birdie." And he said, no, but you're going to be great. And Birdie was this delicate flower. He was a little bird, like a bird you can't hold too hard, you crush it. And I said, "I'm 6'2", I can't do this." And so it was the first time I got on my hands and knees. And here's the thing. It's an interesting thing. We talk about reincarnation, right? We hear people talk about reincarnation. So we know now that the physicality of our bodies, the texture of our skin, the color of our eyes, the shapes of our nose, our height, that these are things that are passed down to us from our ancestors, correct? Yeah, we inherit our characteristics and our physicality from those people that came from it before us. So isn't it possible that wound up in that genetic makeup, in that design, in that DNA, are desires and ambitions of those people that came before us? So when we talk about reincarnation, isn't it possible that we are reincarnations of those people that came before? So when you have a desire to do something, to be an actor, maybe I'm fulfilling an ambition and a desire that came from my great-great-great-great-grandmother. I could be fulfilling that desire, that dream. That when something tells you, don't go down that street, don't go that way, go this way, I think you should listen, because I think that's kind of your intuition is things that are handed down to us from our ancestors that are giving us information if we just listen to it. And then, of course, also we've got to break the habits of those people that came before us. The mistakes that those people made, to be better people, to be good people that are more forgiving and understanding, and look at one another and be able to say, "I understand, you're human, you made a mistake, and I forgive you." I think forgiveness is the greatest thing that we can give to one another. It's not easy. Not easy, right? Not easy, yeah. That's what, when we hear people talk about grace, that's what grace is. Grace, the ability to forgive, you know. But anyhow. It's not Sunday. I'll do the sermon tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. But I got down on my hands and knees, I'm sorry, and I asked all those people that had ever been misunderstood and hurt by war, beaten up by life, to please come and help me play that role of Birdie. And I swear, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, but rush of souls of people that came and helped me play that part, that Birdie role. It's a beautiful film. If you've never seen it, I hope that you'll see it. That movie would never get made today. That's a movie that would never get made today. And Peter Gabriel did the music for the film.
Yeah. Awesome film.
Yeah.
All right, let's grab a few more questions. What do you got? Or we could talk about Birdie for 20 more minutes. Right there in the middle.
They did the Allegheny Courthouse. Yeah, the Bridge of Sighs.
You already got it.
Yeah.
Memories from back then, being in Pittsburgh.
You know, that was the 80s, dude. That was the 80s. They gave you per diem, and people did. And I was working with Mel Gibson, and I'm gonna leave it at that. There was a lot of that was the 80s. Yeah.
Okay, let's get.
Thank goodness we moved on from the 80s.
We got two more questions.
Yeah.
We'll knock those out. We got one right here.
But it was a fun film to make. It was cold. It was really cold. And it was a cold winter up in Toronto, and they had us in those period clothes. And I tell you one story. It's going to lead to sex again. Didn't lead to sex. It's not going to go to sex. Our feet, Mel and I's feet were frozen, and we were getting frostbite on our toes. And the costume designer, she took us into a trailer, and she said, pulled the boots off of us. And she put one foot under her armpit and one foot under her breast, and then my foot, and then my other. Mel and I were sitting side by side with our feet under breasts and armpits, because that was the best way to combat the frostbite. Yeah. And I'm still grateful to that young lady for saving my toes. You guys are going to be so ashamed. You're going to go home and say, you know what he talked about? What a terrible man.
Got a question right here.
Yes.
What was your favorite episode of Stranger Things so far?
All the episodes that I was in. Yeah. And season 4 is going to be the best one yet. It's going to be the best one. It's going to be awesome. And I'm not just saying that. It's going to be huge.
All right. One last question.
We got one right here.
Oh, take two more.
Two more. You got it.
Can you share some experiences that you might have had working in Memphis Belle?
Did I have what?
Can you share some experiences working with Memphis Belle?
Yes. I'll tell you this. My uncle was a B-17 pilot. So I was doing what my uncle did in real life. And I went to see him and tell him, and I said, Uncle Wilder, I'm going to be doing what you did in the movie. He said, you know what they get wrong all the time with these movies? Everybody's too old. I was 28, and he said when I was going through flight school, I was 18 years old, and when I got shot down on my 17th mission, I was just 21. Sean Astin, who's here today, was the only person that was age appropriate. He was 18 years old when we were making the movie. And so when you think about war, like Vietnam, Stanley Kubrick wanted to make Full Metal Jacket with 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds. I was 24, 25 years old, because it was 2 years to make the film. But when we think of the cost of those children that go off to war, I mean, think about that. 18, 19 years old, all those children that went to Vietnam, all those kids that went over to Afghanistan and Iraq, all those kids that fought in the Second World War were children. They were just babies, just starting to, their lives about to change. And so I've done about 4 movies about war, and what I know is that there is evil in the world, and we have to do what we can to alleviate it. But if we don't find a way to solve our problems without throwing stones at one another, without throwing bow and arrows, arrows at one another, with the nuclear capabilities that exist in the world today, that if we don't find a way to peacefully find solutions to the problems that exist, it doesn't bode well for any of us. During the Bay of Pigs, John Kennedy, they wanted to have a nuclear war with Russia. They wanted to blow those Russian ships out of the water that were off the shores of Cuba. And John Kennedy's staff was encouraging him to do that. And he said, I don't want to do that. And he went and he got on the phone and he called up Khrushchev, right? And he said, how can we solve this problem without conflict? And Khrushchev asked him, he said, take some of your missiles off of the border of the USSR. Just take them off. Just take 2 or 3 of them off of the border so that I don't lose face, so that I will still appear to be the leader of my country in a strong position because I made the Americans take those missiles off the border. And that ended a conflict. So there's a thing they say that a threat leads to nothing if it's not accepted. So if I called you an asshole and you said, wow, I wonder what's wrong with Matthew that he would say something like that, because you know in your heart you're not one. You see, it leads to nothing. But if you take offense to it and say, well, you're a bigger asshole. I say, well, you're a bigger asshole. And then we turn into children in the playground. Right? And we start hitting one another. So, I'm a pacifist. I want to find peaceful solutions. But I preface that with, I know that there is evil in the world, but we just have to do all we can to just look at that person and say, what's wrong with you? You got to be so ugly and hateful. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, we got.
Listen, I love all you guys. I'm so grateful to be invited here to participate in this event, and that you're interested in anything that I have to say. I'm so grateful. I was born in California. I grew up in Utah. I moved to New York City when I was 18 with the dream of becoming an actor, not a movie star, an actor. And I succeeded. And I'm blessed. I really am. There's a terrific movie out right now that Will Smith stars in. He plays the father of Serena and Venus Williams, called King Richard. And what that movie's about more than anything is believing in yourself and having confidence and encouraging yourself, and backed up by hard work, it's not just believing in yourself. You got to back it up with action. And it's a beautiful film, and I encourage you all to see it. And Will Smith you'll forget that it's the Fresh Prince from Bel-Air. He's terrific in the film. And but I want to thank you guys all for coming, and I hope I was a little bit entertaining, and you have a happy Christmas.
Oh, it was awesome. Thank you so much, Matthew. He's headed back to his table, photo ops, all that stuff. You can do better than that. The one, the only Matthew Modine.
Hi, this is Michael Shanks, and you're watching Fandom Spotlight. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. The fate of the universe may depend on it. And have fun and follow your fandom.